Hey, y'all, give me 1 second. 1 second. Okay, hey, how's everyone doing? I'm trying to pull up. I forgot to print out the paper for this, and so I'm trying to do a dual setup here. Oh, you're gonna make it, Marissa. Child, I'm not. I am not gonna make 30 and 30 this year or this month. I'll try again when we do it in the fall, but I'm not gonna make it this month, which is fine. Okay, so um, I'm not gonna hold y'all. I'm not going to spend a long time doing this. This is the May new releases. I know I haven't done this. I didn't do February, March, or April. Y'all know my first quarter was a rough quarter. And now I have indigestion. Pardon me. Um, I had a rough first quarter, and so I'm just now swinging back into a lot of things, including the new releases. So I'm splitting this into two parts. The first 2 weeks of May, and typically we see a lot come out in the Mayish, Juneish time as we approach summer months. For the first 2 weeks of May, I have 93 new releases. So when I went to go do this and prep for it, I was like, yeah, I'm not I'm not gonna do just 1 month, like the whole month in one live show because it's gonna take me incredibly long to do this, and I really don't want this to be more than like an hour, hour and a half. So I probably will be doing part two sometime next week. Probably not on Monday. Monday nights is typically when I do Patreon sprints. So it'll probably be somewhere on like a Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday of next week. I will do the second part of this. So we're not gonna waste any time. I know 93. It's a lot. It's a lot. If you're new here and you've never been to one of these before, just kind of a heads up, especially for people who are watching this on playback. I personally read all over the place. And so you're going to see a mix of all different types of things for kids, things for people who like young adult stuff, a variety of genres, fantasy, contemporary, nonfiction, there's a whole plethora of things. Um, on top of that, there is a specific place, because I also get asked this question quite a bit. There's a specific place where I do get access to new releases, but it is not something that can be accessed publicly, unfortunately. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, where do you find new releases? I use a vendor that I use as someone who works in collection development to acquire these new releases, and I can see them day by day. So you'd be surprised how much is releasing actually in a day. And I do not cover every single book that is releasing. I just don't. It would be way, way, way too much for me. But unfortunately, there is not a link that I can actively share with the public because you have to have a login to get into this stuff. But I think that's it. I think we kind of cover all the bases. I'm working dual here, meaning I kind of copy the summary that is uh, a short annotation of the summary that is accessible from the site that I use. And so you'll see me kind of looking over this way because I'm giving y'all a synopsis. All right, everybody, I got my story graph, my list. I always feel so guilty low key doing this to y'all because it's like, yay, sharing your releases, but then because y'all be like, dang, Ashley, my TBR, my TBR, my TBR. This is what I usually see. Rest in peace to TBRs. So I apologize, but hey, maybe it can, put you onto some things that maybe the online bookish community is not heavily talking about. And that's why I like to do these, because some titles kind of fly under the radar because they don't get enough traction in the online bookish community, but they can be getting a lot of traction outside of the online bookish community. All right. So we're going to start with the week of um, what? What is what? What is this? What is this? What is this? Like, no, we're not gonna do this. I don't know who that was, but we're not. I'm not tonight. Not tonight, Satan. Not tonight. I ain't finna do that. I am not in the mood or the energy for that today. Okay. All right. First thing that we have up, we have a children's fantasy, a middle grade fantasy, and adult thriller. Windy Night with Wild Horses. This, I can't tell you what number this is in the Magic Treehouse series. These are still getting published, and it blows my mind every time I think about the fact that these are still getting published when these, I believe, first started getting published in like 92, 93. So we are working on 20 years of 20 years, 20 years of this series, and we are getting a new installment. I think we get about 2 or 3 of these a year. Um, Maybe it's more so 2 because I feel like we get one in the spring and then we get one in the fall. That's typically how it seems to work. Then we have the One and Only Family. This is the 4th book in the start off with the One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate. This is the 4th one in this series. And I don't want to say too much about it because it does spoil a lot of what happens across the 3 books. It's the One and Only Ivan, the One and Only Bob. I forget the name of the book that specifically focuses on the elephant. And this one circles back around to Ivan. Because in the second and third book, we get completely different perspectives. It is still getting published, and they are actually adapting every single book into a graphic novel. So we are not only getting the regular prose books, but each year I think we're getting 1 or 2 of the graphic novel adaptations. I believe we have one coming out. Either one has already come out or one is coming out in the next month or so. And the last one that we have is I Will Ruin You. This is an adult thriller, which 2024 seems to be the year of adult thrillers. I'm not sure what that is, but every time I go and I look at new releases, adult thrillers seem to dominate every single week. This week is no different. This one is about an English teacher who convinces a student with a bomb not to harm anyone. And then after that, they begin getting targeted by a deranged blackmailer. So who knows what direction that could go in. Linwood Barclay, this is not their first book. I'm not familiar with a lot of their works, but that premise sounded kind of interesting. All right. Next, we have The Stolen Child. This is adult literary fiction. I always go back and forth on trying to classify, on attempting to classify a book as literary fiction, fiction, contemporary, what have you, because as we learn from Miss Linda Martell, genres are a funny thing. I had to throw that in there. I've been waiting to use that somewhere somehow. Genres are a funny thing, and so it's never always 100% clear um, for me to kind of figure out what genre it could fit in. They usually say what it is, but sometimes even I feel like they're wrong with that. So just bear with my determination of what the genre is. This one is about a main character who is haunted by a decision he made as a young soldier in World War One, involving a French artist and her baby. Um, this is we gonna make it do what it do. Yes, we are. um, so basically, he makes this decision that affects a French artist and her baby, and this is told in the future where he only has a few months to live. And so he enlists another main character by the name of Jenny, who's a college dropout, to help him unravel the mystery, which forces them both to deal with some difficult things like regret, betrayal, and the lives that they kind of left behind. I'm pretty sure that in this one, the child goes missing, and I think he has something to do with it. I am a sucker for World War One and World War Two themed books, so I'm interested to see how that would be woven into this story. The next one that we have is Karen's Sleepover. This is a middle grade graphic novel, which is a part of the Babysitter's Little Sisters graphic novel adaptation. So if you didn't know, because everything is getting a freaking graphic novel adaptation, but Babysitter's Club is getting reprints with new covers. They're getting cartoonish, more kid friendly esque covers that make them look more updated than when they were originally published. And they are also adapting them into graphic novels. Now, there's over 100 Babysitter Club books. I don't know if the plan is to ultimately adapt each one of those books into graphic novel formats. There's also a spin-off series, which is Babysitter's Little Sister. I don't know how many books are in that series, but they have also been getting the graphic novel treatment, and this is the latest installment in the graphic novel adaptations. I have not read any. I've read some of the Babysitter Club books when I was a kid, and I have read a couple as an adult. And I plan to revisit them whenever I have the capacity, which is not right now. But I have not read the graphic novel adaptations at all. This is a really, really good question, and I do want to stop and kind of address this. Um, I think that I talked about this a little bit in my Realm of Comics channel. The not the video I just uploaded today, but the last video I uploaded before today. I talk about how publishing is doing a very interesting thing with graphic novels. I'm sure if you've seen on the news or seen across social media, reading levels have been intensely impacted um, by the pandemic. And what we have noticed, and just I can only speak for our system, I can't speak for librarians anywhere else, is that kids have been very hesitant to pick up those books with larger number of pages. Anything that's text heavy, they are intimidated by it. And that's not to say that kids still aren't reading those things, but they are kind of like, yeah, I'm not okay with that. I think we're seeing a higher percentage of reluctant readers, and graphic novels are a great resource and tool to get reluctant readers engaged in reading, especially for those who are not on grade level in terms of their reading. The downfall of this is that publishing has picked up on how lucrative being in the graphic novel industry is. So it's kind of like a twofold type of situation. Those of us who really, really enjoy graphic novels, comics, manga are loving that it's becoming more of a mainstream thing, that people are finally taking graphic novels, comics, and manga, and they're considering them as real reading. We've been saying this for years, um, but unfortunately, with parents and even some educators, even some librarians, it has been kind of like a taboo thing. Um, Now that more kids are gravitating towards them, they're super accessible. They're still practicing their reading skills, but they have that picture text combination. They have begun to oversaturate the market, and not always in a positive way. There are some great original graphic novels that are coming out, but they are literally adapting everything. Keeper of the Lost Cities is one that I always use as an example, and this is probably the one that pisses me off the most. If you did not know, Keeper of the Lost Cities is a middle grade series by Shannon Messenger. These books are huge. The first book alone is close to 500 pages, and as you work your way through the series, these books easily top over 900 pages apiece. All right. There's some real, like people who are super invested in that series and they love those books, and those books circulate very, very well. However, they have started the process of adapting that series into a graphic novel. Problem number one is that not everything that is in prose can be adapted into a graphic novel. And sometimes when you try to do those adaptations, you lose um, you lose the essence of the core of that book. The second issue is they're too freaking long. Keeper of the Lost Cities is so long that when they released the first graphic novel, they couldn't even adapt the entire first book into one graphic novel. They had to divide it into parts because that series is so daggone long. They cannot put that entire story into one graphic novel, which makes me think that as they get further into the series, they're going to have to divide books into multiple versions or multiple parts to encompass the entire story. And I always think that this is a good point too. Just because a book is popular um, does not mean that it needs to be a graphic novel. I always use Percy Jackson as a good example. Those did not need to be graphic novels. The graphic novels are absolutely horrible. Horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Everything that's written as prose is not transferable into a graphic novel, but publishing right now knows that that's where the money is. And that's what kids are really, really interested in right now. And so they are pushing to put out this content. It takes a long time to develop an original graphic novel. And it's a lot of work that goes into it. And I'm not saying that a lot of work doesn't go into the adaptation, but that's an easy idea. Like, okay, let's just adapt this. Let's just adapt this. Sarah Milanowski's whatever after series, which I enjoy as a fractured fairy tale um, middle grade series, lower end of middle grade, is also now the first book just got a graphic novel adaptation. And so, as someone who does read graphic novels, that does read a lot of children's materials, it's frustrating. Um, and so, yeah, it's a twofold type of situation. There's positives to it, but there's negatives, and I must say that I personally think that publishing is taking advantage of that. I really do think that they're taking advantage of it. So there's that. Sorry, long-winded response, but that's a touchy thing for me, as someone who does love graphic novels, that advocates for kids to pick up graphic novels, that advocates for people to consider graphic novels as real reading and just as valuable as any form of literature. Publishing will take anything that they see dollar signs on and they will run with it. And that is just the nature of a business. They are trying to make their money where they can. And what's so unfortunate is that a lot of these middle grade graphic novels, I read one, I don't think I have it. Yes, I do. I have it right here. So I read this graphic novel. It was really good. Next Stop by Debbie Fong. I read this the other night, and this is a $22 book, and I read it in an hour. So you know that at the end of the day, publishing sees that kids are really, really into graphic novels, um, and they could sell a graphic novel this size that a kid could probably read in a couple of hours for $22 a pop here in the US, and it's $30 in Canada. This is a $30 book in Canada. It's at some point there is you want creators to get their due payments, but then there's this side where you wonder how much publishing is trying to get a one up as well. So there's that. Um, Next one, Beach Summer. This is Bruce. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Bruce by Ryan T. Higgins. He makes all these books about Bruce. Kind of funny. This is a new addition to the series where they are going to the beach, and Bruce is not happy about going to the beach. He prefers it to be fall. I'm like, Bruce, I'm not about the summer. It's disgusting. It's hot. I'm sweaty. I was sweating today and it felt absolutely disgusting. So I'm sure, as always, with a lot of Ryan T. Higgins books, they're often very cute, charming, and funny. Um, yes. Bruce books are absolutely cute. I do love them. If you have um or if you just like funny picture books, like Bruce is, I would just say this, Ryan T. Higgins is a creator to check out if you're looking for funny and charming picture books. He does a lot of fun things with the works that he puts his hands onto. We're getting a new book from Kekla Magoon, which I'm excited about. This is a middle grade fantasy called The Secret Library. This is about a main character who finds a mysterious letter from her grandfather who has passed, and she's led to a library where each book serves as a portal to a precise moment in time. And she has to find the courage to write her own story as she checks out adventure after adventure, which I think is that summary is a cute play on words of like checking out. The next one is the Ministry of Time. Now, this was one where I was like, is this like sci-fi? Is this adult literary fiction? Like, it seems like it could play in between both. This is where, uh, wherever this is taking place, the society is trying to establish whether time travel is feasible for the body, but also for the fabric of space and time. So they have these people who are considered bridges, um, and they live with, assist, and monitor people. And this one is focusing on one in particular who's monitoring an expat known as 1847 or Commander Graham Gore. These two, so this guy is from the 19th century. She's living, from my knowledge of the little bit that I was able to get from reading the summary of this, she's living in, I think, either our time period or something close to it. And they fall in love. So that's why I was like, this is I had no idea where to put this book in terms of genre because it has a time travel element. The two of them fall in love, and then there's also some type of like espionage aspect to this story as well. I like a good time travel if it's done well, and it's because time travel messes with my mind a little bit. And so this one intrigued me because I was like, this could either go really, really well or really, really poorly. Who knows? Um, then the next one we have is Women and Children First. This one felt like a thriller slash mystery. It's about a young woman who dies under suspicious circumstances at a house party. And then as a result, the private lives of 10 women unravel as they confront the tragedy that ends up happening. Probably a lot of people blaming everyone. Uh, and let's see where it says here. Secrets are buried deeper, and a shocking truth about that dreadful night begins to emerge. Y'all give me 1 second. Pause. Talk amongst yourselves. I think I hear my child. Give me 1 second. All right, sorry, y'all. We had a potty emergency. We drink a lot of water before bed, and we did potty time. We had to potty again, and she just wanted to make sure it was okay if she used the bathroom. Which I keep telling her, if you have to potty, get up and go use the bathroom. She has a bathroom in her room, but I think she just gets nervous to get up and go use the bathroom. Okay, well, you know what? Facts here, because I don't understand why Jack and Annie are not in college yet. Jack and Annie have been stuck the same age since 1992, 1993. Interesting. Okay, we did women and children first. All right, next we have mistakes we never made. Sorry. This is a adult romance between two main characters that are frenemies, and they are reunited for a mutual friend's wedding. But the bride goes missing during the wedding, and they have to embark on an adventure filled road trip in hopes of saving someone else's happily ever after. And I'm guessing while they're doing this, looking for the bride, the two of them end up falling in love. You know, typical kind of structure there. This is interesting. So, Beyond the Isle of the Lost is not the next book in the Isle of the Lost series. So, there are 3 or 4 books in the Isle of the Lost series, and there's a new movie being made. I don't know if y'all have seen it. Brandy is in this newest installment of the Isle of the Lost, although the original crew is not in it, from my understanding. This book is a prequel to the movie, which I think is very interesting for them to do. I'm not always a fan of that. They did the same thing with Hocus Pocus, where it felt like it was 2 books in one, where the first book was kind of the same as the first Hocus Pocus movie, and then the second part was in relationship to their daughter. I don't know. I always get kind of finicky and weird when books are so closely attached to the films, where they start interacting with each other and it's not an adaptation, but there's storytelling between the two. I don't know. I don't know if I'm even explaining that right, but this is a prequel to that movie, and it takes place in a um, Wonderland type setting. Now, I have not read any of the Isle of the Lost books. I am not a huge fan of Melissa de la Cruz's writing, but it's something that I do potentially want to read. I do enjoy the movies. Listen, a guilty pleasure. It is a guilty pleasure of mine, but I am interested in seeing how they're going to handle this. The next one that we have is a nonfiction adult book, and it's The Jasmine. This is based off of over 250 interviews that research the history of Black America in the early to mid 1900s through 3 kings of jazz. Um, Ellington Armstrong, and is it Basie or Bassie, Aaron? Correct me if I'm wrong. And it's surrounding their music and eh, how their music writes the soundtrack for the civil rights movement. That is one that I'm very, very, very interested in. I'm feeling a nonfiction mood kind of creeping in. Aaron, I know you read it, but I'm currently in the middle of working my way through Barbara Streisand's memoir, and goodness gracious, it's uh, it's a heck of a read. It's a 1,000-page book. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate it. Now this one I thought was interesting because of the play on West Side Story. It's called Red Side Story, and it is an adult dystopian book where society is strictly regulated by one's limited color perception. So you're labeled by what color you perceive. So the main character is part of the red sector, and he's framed by murder. Um, and he's trying to save himself and another person who he has an illegal relationship with, because I believe that she's part of the green sector. So I haven't read an adult dystopian type of book in a while, but this one, I wonder how much this is really going to play on West Side Story because of the name Red Side Story. I think that's what probably intrigued me the most about that one. Um, The Return of Ellie Black. It's an adult thriller. Now, this Emiko Jean, I've read her young adult stuff. And I always find it interesting when authors jump age categories. Some do it well, and some don't. They don't do it well. Um, One person who is very, very popular that has done it, we just talked about her last night when I had patron sprints, or was it Saturday? Time is a funny thing. I think it was Saturday. A lot of people forget that Emily Henry started off writing young adult and made the jump to adult romance. So that was a successful jump for her. One person that I think is doing it, but it was interesting to see them do it, was watching Angie Thomas jump from young adult to middle grade. It was, and not even just age, she also jumped genres. I think with Emily Henry, she kind of stuck in the same vein, contemporary ish. So this is interesting because this author is has written YA contemporary romance and is now jumping to adult thriller, which that may or may not work. Um, not. Are you talking about Angie? um, but this one is about a main character by the name of Ellie Black who turns up after disappearing 2 years earlier. And she's found alive in the woods of Washington State. So there's a detective whose own sister had gone missing when they were teenagers, and realizes that something's not right with Ellie and is trying to find the answers before another girl goes missing. So I'm wondering if there's a connection between Ellie and this detective's sister, and if it's the same person that has taken both of the girls. Oh, she wrote Nick Blake, the remarkable Nick Blake. I believe that's, I don't now remember the name of the series, but it's a Nick Blake. Maybe it is a Nick Blake series, but it was a middle grade fantasy magical boarding school ish type of situation. Um, Yeah, yeah, like, it actually didn't even ring in my head that this was the same author until the website that I use, on the sidebar on the right-hand side, you can see what other books the author has written. And so when I saw the young adult books, I was like, "Oh, shoot." I was like, "This is the same author." And so that completely threw me for a loop, that the transferring of age group and genre was, it could go well or it could not. It depends on the author. Thank you, thank you. Nick Blake and the Remarkables. Thank you, Reggie, because I'm over here struggling. The first one is a manifest of prophecy. I said the remarkable Nick Blake, something like that. Goodness gracious. Um, Thank you, Reggie, for picking that up for me. The next one is Beastly Beauty. This is by Jennifer Donnelly, who is well known for writing fractured fairy tales. I've read one of her fractured fairy tales before. I gave it about 3 stars. This is the latest from her. It's YA fantasy. It is a reimagining of Beauty and the Beast, but with a twist, because there's always a twist. Um, so this is about a thief named Bo who enters the castle, and he finds himself trapped in Arabella's curse. Um, and it can only be broken, um, if, of course, she finds a boy who loves her for her true self. Um, which I don't know, y'all, because Jennifer Donnelly, I think the ideas are there, but the execution doesn't always work. So I put this on here for me out of like pure curiosity, but I don't know if I'm actually going to pick this one up. I like Fractured Fairy Tales a lot, but I know how I am when it comes to Jennifer Donnelly, so I may or may not actually pick that one up. Next, we have a middle grade graphic novel called Curveball, um, which is about a main character who plays baseball, but she stops having fun playing baseball. And she kind of has to figure out who she is without the sport, because from my understanding, it had been her entire life. She revolved her life around baseball. And so it's kind of like, who are you without um, baseball? The next one is Ella. This is once again, genres. Who knows where to put this? This is not nonfiction. This is fiction, but it is heavily based off of Ella Fitzgerald, and her escape from an infamous training school prison that forced her to dance on the street for money, to her 1934 first amateur appearance in the Apollo Theater. So it said when I looked at it, it said it was not nonfiction. So someone's probably taken those events and has um, fictionalized them. So that can also be a hit or a miss. um, lots, Aaron, lots of music related books coming out. Next we have The Daughters of Shandong. This is about China's civil war. And it is a look at four daughters who once lived privileged lives, but now they have to defy tradition and flee their home as the Communist Party kind of closes in. And they are headed to um, Taiwan, if I'm not mistaken. Adrian, is the WTH for the Ella book or the Daughters of Shandong? Everything always happens so at a time because I'm too busy talking, so I have no idea what y'all are reacting to. Okay, next one. Next slide. We have a beginner reader coming home. Not coming home, sorry. How to Love a Kitten. I'm bugging. The Ella book, yeah, yeah. I, interesting, but it could go left or right. I don't know how that could work out. But when I kept looking to, I was like, okay, this must be nonfiction, but it is a fictionalized perspective. I don't know. I don't know. Um, it probably is a stretch. You're probably right there. It probably is a hell of a stretch. Speaking of stretching, let's see if I can stretch this power cord. There we go. Okay. First we have a beginner reader here, How to Love a Kitten. Um, it's just about a girl who finds a cat and learns how to take care of it. Beginner readers don't really have much to them from an adult perspective. They're there, of course, to help nurture and build independent readers. I usually read them in about 5 minutes, but I do like to stay aware of what is out there for recommendation purposes. Um, the next one, Coming Home by Brittany Griner. That one probably is going to be pretty intense. I came across an interview that Brittany had done about her experience being detained in Russia. And so this one could be emotionally, this could be a lot. So I do want to pick it up. Excited is not the word that I'm looking for, but I want to know how she processed not only her time there, but just the response that some Americans had to her being traded in the like her being chosen as the prisoner trade, um, and how she processed that lashback from some people, which I don't even want to talk about it because it's just going to infuriate me. But that does come out very, very soon, next week, actually. And the next one is Summer is Here. This is this Renee Watson's new? Yeah, this is Renee Watson's new picture book. Um, Anything Renee Watson writes, I'm going to put my hands on. This is just an ode to summer, um, about a young girl who has a perfect day of swimming, which with Renee Watson, it's going to be absolutely poetic. Renee Watson actually cranked out some books this year. She had a young adult poetry. So it wasn't a poetry collection, but it was coming of age experience of Black girls. It was young adult. It was written in verse. She has this picture book coming out, and you're going to see in the same month, she also has an adult book coming out. So she has been cranking it out, and I'm surprised because I met her last year and she said she was working on stuff, but like working on stuff and then cranking this stuff out, the amount of stuff that she's cranking out is a completely different story. I don't know if Brittany Griner is doing the audio. I have no idea. I would have had to go to a completely different area to kind of figure that out. Um, and that is a good point, y'all. I don't know if she truly has had enough time to process. That's a very, very good question. Or how much she's still having to deal with the trauma that was inflicted on her. Um, the next one that I have is middle grade contemporary. It's And Then Boom. This is by Lisa Phipps, who wrote a book. Was it last year or the year before last year? Did Starfish come out? I feel like Starfish came out in 2022, which was about body positivity. This one is about poverty that children often face. She writes her books in verse. So I always like to highlight authors who have middle grade books that are written in verse. Those are often also good selections for reluctant readers, um, because the stories are engaging, fulfilling, but it's less text for them to have to process. This next one to me felt a little too real. I'm not gonna lie, but I am interested in picking it up, and it's This Book Won't Burn. It is about a main character by the name of Noor, who is forced to start the last quarter of her senior year at a new school because her dad abandons the family. But when she gets there, she has discovered that hundreds of books have been removed from the library because they have been classified as obscene and pornographic. And she uses her voice to affect change in that school and in that library. Um, that is very, very close to home right now. So I'm very interested to see what um, very, very interested to see what is going to be done with that. This next one has been getting a lot of buzz from people who are not in the bookish online bookish community. I've been sent when this book first started getting traction. Um, I had gotten sent this by people who are not a part of the online bookish community, and so I'm interested to see how it's going to hold up. And that is Blood at the Root. Um, this is a teenager who's on the run, who finds family that he never knew existed in a community at an HBCU for the young, black, and magical. So, this is another book that I think is going to um, be like the magical boarding school type of situation. However, the fact that it's an HBCU kind of levels it up just a tad bit for me. And so I'm interested to see what the author is going to do with this. Like, a magical HBCU. That's low key kind of lit. So I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm not excited for it, but I hate getting my hopes up about anything and everything because I'm always afraid that I'm gonna be let down. But the cover is stunning. I think the premise is really interesting, and we'll see if it holds up. I hear you. I hear you. That's why we do these. This is why we in this little pocket of the internet, you all that I constantly see and engage with, this is why we do these, to kind of maybe introduce some books um that are not going to be as heavily discussed in the online bookish community. All right, this next one is a YA thriller. It's YA thrillers. Well, Kirkus said this, not me. I'm not going to take Kirkus's words. But I was adding a book to a cart at work. This was last week, and Kirkus had reviewed. And if you don't know, I feel like I've said this a million and one times. Kirkus and I are like peanut butter and jelly. Um, I trust Kirkus for everything, and Kirkus had pointed out that they do believe that young adult is oversaturated with thrillers at the moment. The same way I do actually think, I think the adult market is saturated with thrillers as well. Um, I'm not sure why that's a thing that's happening, but they had pointed it out, and I was like, oh, that's a good point. But there's nothing in particular about this that necessarily stands out, because it's a high school prank that's gone wrong. That's really the premise of it. It's a high school prank that's going wrong. But Natasha's other book, The Island, had gotten a lot of traction when it released last year, at least in my library. For some reason, I don't know if it was big on social media. I didn't really look, but I knew that it was getting a lot of traction in my library. And so this would be my first exposure to Natasha as an author. Um, so I had put it up there as to kind of also give myself kind of a reminder. Um, I'm not going to butcher Lily's last name. I don't want to do that, but I will listen to the audio pronunciation of this. Um, but this is a middle grade contemporary um, where Lily's cousin comes to join her family, but he's from Taiwan. He struggles with schoolwork, just adapting to the environment. And so Lily pushes her school to provide more ESL support. Um, but her first generation family is very nervous about her challenging the status quo. And so they're kind of putting her in this position to choose whether you just go with the way things are, or do you stand up and do the right thing? Which I think that that's really interesting. I'm not in the school system, but I am curious as to how beneficial ESL programs are to ESL students, and if they're providing the support that the students do in fact need. But I think as that familial conflict is going to be interesting to me too, between first gen and second gen, um, and not just from an immigration perspective, but too like we're talking about Gen Z versus like Gen X or baby boomers in terms of like advocating in certain situations or being okay with just the way things are. And the last one is another one that I'm really interested in. This is a middle grade historical fiction novel written in verse that focuses on a 12-year-old by the name of Raj, but this takes place during the British partition of India. Um, and so he, of course, unfortunately, because it's middle grade books here, he suffers a devastating loss, and he is trying to find the courage to um, survive the brutal upheaval of the country. I read a picture book a couple years ago about the British partition of India that was really, really good, and I can't call the name of it off the top of my head right now. But I'm starting to see more children's books that address that are being done very, very well. So the fact that this is historical fiction, which I am a huge fan of historical fiction, I like middle grade, and it's written in verse. I think this one potentially has to be a big hit. It has potential to be a big hit for me as a reader. All right, y'all. We are making it through. Sorry, I don't want y'all to see me like guzzling down drink and being all types of nasty. Okay. So here we have um Bite Me Royce Taslim. Mm, no, please give recommendations. You're not stepping on my toes, I promise. Um, I heard the author speak about this book at a webinar, but it is about a main character who loses the opportunity. Yes, 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 yes. That is it. That is it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, it follows the main character who was supposed to get a scholarship to run track in college. But of course it doesn't happen. So she enters an international stand-up comedy contest and finds herself going up against the other main character by the name of Royce. Um, this is one of those things where it's probably enemies to lovers or hate to love, who knows? But your typical YA contemporary. The author was really, really engaging when she was speaking about the book, though. It was interesting. Um, the next one is another middle grade, The Things We Miss. This is what I feel like is a mix between sci-fi and contemporary because it follows a main character who finds a door that leads her 3 days ahead in time. So she uses this door to essentially skip the worst parts of her life. So every time she goes to this door, she can just skip 3 days ahead. And I'm like, yo, low key. If I didn't have a kid, because I don't want to miss any days in my kid's life. If I didn't have a kid, let me tell y'all. Let me tell y'all, I would I would use that. I'm not gonna lie. So I thought that's an interesting, and I'm sure there's consequences um to that. Learning that you can't skip over the hard parts. That hard parts are a part of life. You must go through those hard moments because life is full of good and bad moments. So um, of course, we know that as adults, but it's kind of a hard concept, I think, sometimes to grasp until you get a little bit older. And even as an adult, there's still moments when I forget that um, the hard times are just a part of life. You don't, it's not all roses all the time. And of course, a couple of y'all have already um, said that you were excited for Archangels of Punk, which is an adult sci-fi. Um, it's a main character who's caring for her 3 circus bots and 2 dogs. And the main character's name is Cinnamon, who works to provide food and housing for refugees from the water wars. Water wars. That right there, water wars. Uh, that's hard. um, and confronts threats from darknet lords and the nostalgia militia while trying to build a future. That one sounds really, really good. To be honest with you, I picked this one when I just saw the title, Archangels of Funk. Like the title alone, that was clever, and I appreciated that. So, all right, next thing. Okay. The Shanghai Landers. I think that's how you say that title. Shanghai Landers. This is adult literary fiction. And it starts in 2040. I didn't know where to put this one either. When I tell y'all this month was the most difficult month of like, what genre does this fit in? And it could just be me and the whole concept of genres and the Linda Martell thing, and I'm just applying that to everything in life right now. But literally, I had no idea, and I actually went past the website to see like what is everybody classifying this book as. And a lot of people were just saying literary fiction, general fiction, but the book starts in 2040, goes back to 2014, explores marriage, relationships, and the experience of time. So it's like, so is this? It could just start in the future and go to the past. I mean, that literally could just be it, and there's not really anything sci-fi-ish about it. Um, but it follows a Shanghai family, parent by parent, daughter by daughter, and just their lives and through the people that are closest to them. I know you missed it. You missed it earlier when I did it the first time because it was just. I was like, I just can't. It can't. It's taking over my life. All right. This is Renee Watson's other book, y'all. So Renee Watson has done 3 books in the first 5 months of the year. I don't know what type of writing mojo she's got right now, but the fact that she's put out a picture book, a young adult, and an adult title within the first 5 months of the year is insane to me because of that's a plethora of genres and age categories that she spread herself across. But this is her adult title. I feel like this is her first adult title, if I'm not mistaken. But it follows a main character who makes a confession on her wedding day, and it completely changes her world. The main character is 40 years old. Um, she's trying to teach her daughter self love, while struggling to do so herself. Which, when I tell y'all, I am not in my 40s yet, but when I tell you, as a Black woman raising a Black girl, teaching the importance of self love while trying to remember to engage in that same behavior yourself is probably the trickiest thing that I've ever done in my life, which means that becoming very conscious and very aware of how I treat myself, how I allow others to treat me, and how I talk about myself in front of my child. I have never been more self aware about giving myself love since I've had my kid. And it's very interesting. Um, which I feel like there's a lot of parts of this book that I'm going to connect to, because in her journey of teaching her daughter about self-love, trying to figure out self-love in terms of herself, um, she's questioning everything that she's ever learned about dating, friendship, motherhood, while working to um, teach the masses about the forgotten Black history of Oregon. Loaded book, but one that I feel like I in particular am I feel like this is gonna be one for me. And yes, Renee is writing like she owes somebody money, because she writes now. Renee can when I tell you Renee writes, she writes. But the 3 books in 5 months is a whole lot. It's a whole dang a lot. And she's a really good writer. Her book that she wrote, her young adult book that she wrote this year was very, 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 very good. Quick read, but as a Black woman reading that, it packed a hell of a punch. So it's not even just a short amount of time, but she writes with quality, and so I'm not gonna question. That's magic, the epitome of Black magic right there, because that's wild. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I put this one up here. Okay, Black Shield Maiden. Me and my coworker were talking about this today because we already have copies of the book already. Um, of course, they're not released to the public yet, but um, that's that this right here, this right here. Um, I put this up here because I know that it's going to stir up a lot of conversation when it is officially released. The early reviews of this are not good. If I'm not mistaken, I don't even believe it has gotten good um reviews from the journals. When I was originally, because I didn't know that this was a thing, I actually was sent a text message about this book and did not know that it was a thing until I was sent it was a screenshot of an Instagram post of the book. I think that's how it was. I had no idea. I had no knowledge of this book. I'm hesitant because everybody is not a writer. I'm hesitant because the market also is becoming oversaturated with actors and actresses turn authors, uh, especially in kidlit. That's a huge thing. And I think that in terms of genre wise, that's not an easy genre to write for a first time writer. Um, but I don't know. I don't know how that's it, early reviews are not that great, but who knows? Who knows? But I did add it. It is about an African warrior stolen from her home, um, and ignites a revolution in the frozen north of the Vikings. So the premise is interesting, but the execution can be something completely different. Um, yeah, Aaron, stop it. Yeah, yeah. The early reviews on it are not, and I don't know if that's genuinely not in regard to the representation. I would never discredit that. I don't know if outside of the representation, if that is truly because the book itself is bad, or if it's because she's Jada's daughter. Because that can also potentially be a thing as well. Because people drag Jada through the mud for that book, for Worthy. So I don't know. We'll see. We will see. We shall see. Okay. Next, we have another middle grade. This is another historical fiction. It is about a 13-year-old who is emptying her, well, helping her father empty her grandmother's house. And through the cleaning of the house, they figure out that she was involved in the Dutch resistance during World War II. Um, and I'm sure there's some life lessons that come with that. Uh, I'm sure y'all all know about this one, The Rise of High Hill. I am still not caught up on this series, but I did want to put it up here because it's the next installment. Does anybody know? This is a general audience question. Do y'all know how many books are supposed to be in the Singing Hill series? Like I didn't know. I don't know why I thought that the last one that came out was going to be the last one. I don't know why that kind of got stuck in my head. So I was shocked when I saw this one. So if y'all know, please let me know. Okay. Thank you. Because I don't know. No, I don't think anybody has ever said that. But for some reason, I just thought that last one was the final book. And then I saw this one and I was like, yo, wait. What? I didn't know that was going to get. And I'm not even caught up. And I'm worried about how many books um, are in the series. With Shauna McGuire's series. Tor does love themselves. Tor.com. They love their novellas. Next, we have a middle grade graphic novel, um, which is, let me scroll down my list really quick. Sorry, y'all. Anzu in the Realm of Darkness. This is, I think, Japanese mythology. If I'm not, Shinto God. Shinto God's Japanese, correct? If I'm wrong, you can tell me. Um, but she delves into the Shinto underworld, and discovers that the queen of the realm has been kidnapping spirits of lost children. Why do we put this in children's books? This is why these babies have nightmares. And half the stuff I was reading as a kid, I'm like, no wonder why I'm scared of the most simple shit. Who wouldn't be scared with the shit? Go to the realm and find out that the queen's been kidnapping the spirits of lost children for decades. Now, see, I I am always game for a I'm always game for a original graphic novel, original ideas. So this one just sounded interesting to me, and the fact that there's kind of like um, lore, mythology tied into it. Um, I'm game to pick it up. Okay, so 8 books. Thank you for looking that up. Okay. Now, Aaron, where are you at? And I want to know, Aaron, are you looking forward to reading this one? Because I'm not going to lie to you. When I saw this book, I thought of you. The Loves of Theodore Roosevelt. Aaron, I don't know why. Let me hold up. Sidebar. There is a book, y'all, and I want y'all, if you have the capacity right now, I want you to look up this book and look at the cover. Because when I saw that this book was coming out, granted, I did select it for our collection. It's called It Watches in the Dark. That's the name of the book. It Watches in the Dark. It is a children's book. I looked at that cover and I said, what the hell are these kids into these days? Facts. I don't know if, but anyway, I don't know. Thank you. See what I'm saying? Yes, yes. WTF that cover. That cover is insane. You know, the cover was like, yo. When I saw the cover of that book, y'all, I was like, hold up now. Like I understand liking like the goosebumps type, but what the hell are these kids reading? And what are they into? And who and what marketing team, when they saw that cover, someone greenlit that and said, yeah, this is it. This is it. I was like, yo, I said, these kids have no fear. They have no fear. Because when I saw that cover and it popped up, I'm not gonna lie to you, I saw it and I was like, oh, this is not mine. Because sometimes I can end up with books that are not, they get crossed, wires get crossed, and I'll get sent an adult book, and I'm that's you know. But then I kept looking and reading and looking at the reviews, and I was like, who greenlit this and said, let's scare the fuck out of these kids? And the kids are eating that book up. It's crazy. Jessica, the name of the book is hold on, because I clicked off of it. It Watches in the Dark. And it's gotten great reviews. That's the thing. It's gotten great reviews. Kirkus loved it. They're like, it's a goosebump-esque book. I said, listen, I grew up reading Goosebumps and the covers never looked like that. Because I would have never picked the book up. But I would have never picked the book up. There's no way as a kid. But there are kids who really, really like, they love that stuff. They're the makings of adult horror readers, intense adult horror readers. We meet all night. Love. Okay. All right. Anyway, I don't know if Aaron's here because Aaron hasn't responded. But just so y'all know, um, I thought of Aaron when I saw this book. Um, I don't know why, but this is about the five women who shaped the life of America's most significant presidents. And it's supposed to take a look at Theodore Roosevelt in a different lens, a different perspective. I'm glad you just put it on hold. You must tell me how it goes. I like, I definitely, I thought of you when I saw that, and I was like, I wonder if Aaron's going to read this book. I don't know. It just seemed like something that you would pick up um and enjoy. Yeah. Yeah, it just felt like you instantaneously popped into my head. Um, all right, Five Broken Blades. To be honest with you, I'm not really interested in this, but it is the newest book coming out from Red Tower. If you don't know, Red Tower is the same publisher. It's the it's a, I don't want to say subprint, but it kind of is. It's part of Entangled. And it's the same group that put out Fourth Wing and all that, and this book right here that has gotten horrible reviews. So it's the same group of people, and this is their latest that they've put out. And it is about five people who are brought together, five of the most dangerous people in this kingdom, who've been brought together to kill the God King June, who apparently does not. Thank you, Marissa Imprint. Jeez, man, words are not wording tonight for me at all. Uh, But it's about those people who were supposed to kill the god King June, who unfairly imprisons and sells the poor and innocent. To be honest with you, Red Tower. Well, I should back up. Entangled is known for their shit publishing already. They don't have a good reputation for quality publications. That's always been the word on the street, is that Entangled is not they're not a good publishing house. And we have learned very quickly that their imprint, Red Tower, is you know what? It's very on brand. So the fact that people are shocked that these books that are coming from Red Tower are not good quality should not be shocked, because it is very on brand for Entangled not to have quality things come out. So there's that. Um Thank you, Tia. All right. Next, we have a children's graphic novel. I'm reading the first one. This is Pup and Dragon. It's really cute. This one is they're trying to catch a unicorn, and the first one they were trying to catch Santa Claus. So it's just a continuation of the series. All right. Next we have Tryout. So this is the second book in the Baxley or Brinkley yearbook series. I read the first one and it was okay. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. And I'm guaranteeing you that this series is going to have 4 books, because the first book we're following 4 main characters. And so I think that Sarah Sachs is going to follow each one of the characters in their own installment in the series. The first one, the main character, it's interesting because she wants to do something different with her hair, and her mom's like, "No, you can't. It's not going to happen." So then she goes to the bathroom and she just randomly cuts her braid off, and takes her yearbook pictures that way. And then all of a sudden, like, people are coming to her asking for like haircut advice, or how to style themselves and all types of. And she's ends up not being a good friend when it's all said and done. Um, very much so a middle grade book about friendship and coming of age and learning lessons, that type of thing. So this is the next one in the series. The main character in this one is um, trying out for the baseball team, which has historically only been in all boys, and she wants to join to help them defend their 9-year championship title. Excuse me. That first of all, don't say yeah, y'all's girl, because that's not my girl at all. And she would love to write what? Because there's no way that she put out Fourth Wing and then had the audacity to say that she wanted to write with Octavia E. Butler. That's crazy work. But then again, with everything that's been taking place in the book community this year, it may not be that far off from what has been seemingly has felt like the most chaotic year that the book world has had in a long time. That's just weird. The next one we have is Hunted. This is an adult thriller, and this is about 2 parents who are searching for their lost children, um, who are on the run together while trying to stop an unknown organization's conspiracy to bring down America. Honestly, it was a conspiracy to bring down America that kind of like pulled me in, because then it was like, what is this conspiracy and where can I sign my name in blood? Because at this point, we just need to start over. We just need to dismantle and just start over from scratch, because what we're doing right now is not working. Clearly, nothing here is working. It's not working. It's not. Yes, I saw Liz. I saw the TikTok today. And when I tell you, when that girl, sorry, y'all, I'm deviating here. When that girl talked about her friends stood there and watched, I was like everybody else in the comments, you have no friends. Cause ain't no way my friend is standing there and that woman flew at her and was being super aggressive, and your friends are sitting there watching. Like, girl, what? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. All right, last one um on this slide is Their Divine Fires. Um this is a book where the author actually used um the experiences of her great grandmother and great uncle, who fought on the side of communist, and also pulls in her mother's experiences during the Cultural Revolution. And the book itself is told over three generations of Chinese women across 100 years of revolutions, both political and personal. This is one that I want to, because if you know me, I like anything that's a family saga. Anything where we see these generational interconnectedness of stories, I'm here for it. And the fact that this is about the fact that her great grandmother and great uncle fought on the side of the communist, and then you see the impact of the Cultural Revolution on her like, I think that that one is going to be one that I really really enjoy, to be honest with you. Um, so basically, I don't know. Deviating again, I don't know um, the individual. I've never seen her before, and I think she's primarily on TikTok, something along those lines. But she went to Polycon this weekend. You would never catch me there. Uh, that's just me. She went to Polycon this weekend. She black girl, and she was supposed to volunteer. And when I tell you, the chaos ensued from the moment that she walked in to go volunteer, from them not having her shirt and her having to prove that she was supposed to volunteer already from the jump. The microaggressive behavior would have been a hell no for me from the get go, because she had been emailing back and forth with the volunteer coordinator, and she had confirmed that she was supposed to attend. And when she got there, the nasty shit started. Um, and then her and another volunteer ended up getting into it, where the other volunteer was super aggressive, I'm guessing. And Jennifer L. Armentrout put out a statement today addressing the incident. But child, please, I'm gonna go ahead and say it because it's what everybody in the room is thinking. I'm not gonna go nowhere where like I'm not wanted to begin with. Okay, like let's be for real, and I'm gonna leave it at that. If you catch my drift, you catch my drift. I hope you catch what I'm putting out there. That's just me. And never mind. I'm not gonna go there. I'm gonna save that for the group chat. Okay, next book. Okay, next book is Do You Even Know Me? This is a book about a main character by the name of Salma, who's Muslim. She takes pride in being Muslim, and unfortunately, she realizes that not everyone understands or sees her religion the way that she does. And so this is kind of her pushing back, saying, like, enough is enough. Like, I'm tired of you portraying um, Muslims as inherently violent individuals when that's not the case. Um, which I think this book is very much so needed in the kidlit arena. We have some great books that show positive and beautiful Muslim representation, but I like that this book potentially um, is going to call out how people view Muslims in the Muslim community, and how they are often associated with violence when that's not the truth behind their religion. So, um, You see, like, you got to know how to read situations and read spaces and understand, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm older now, and maybe I wouldn't have been. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know how to put it, except like I'm not gonna go nowhere where I'm not wanted to begin with. And we know what that's all about. We know what's featured there, who's featured there. Like, let's be for real when it's all said and done. Not saying that that is how that justifies her treatment, but that treatment to me at the same time is not shocking because of the nature of what it was and who was present and who dominated. So it is what it is. Ooh, Beyond the Bamboo Curtain. Thank you. I will check that out. The next one, middle grade graphic novel. This is a follow up to the Switcheroo series. This is the second one. Born to be Bad. It's not really much to say about it. The next one that we have here is Growing Up Under a Red Flag. Um, this one I'm excited to read because it follows the author's. There's a lot of books coming out this year. I'm sorry, y'all, interrupting myself, but there are a lot of books coming out this year about the Chinese Cultural Revolution. I'm not sure why, unless I'm missing something about the significance of 2024, which I could be. Shame on me if I am. But this is another book that explores the author's childhood during the Chinese Cultural Revolution, um, which she says was a time for her of fear, mayhem, scarcity, um, and how her parents found ways to secretly educate her during this time and encouraged her dreams of one day visiting and coming to America. Um, so, yes, that cover is, when I tell y'all that cover is beautiful, it is absolutely, and I can't remember how old, I'm about to look it up because I can't remember how old she is. Because Kompenstein has written a lot of stuff, and I did not know that she had grown up. Hmm. Okay, she's 61. She's born in 63. Okay. But she's written a lot, by the way. She's written a whole lot of books. But I did not know that she had grown up. That was my first knowledge of that, was when I heard that that book was coming out. All right, next page. Hot Boy Summer. This is about four gay teens in San Antonio who just have the summer of their lives and learn the meaning of friendship. Your typical YA contemporary. We have a young adult nonfiction, Rising from the Ashes. This is based off of 100 plus personal interviews as seen through the eyes and experiences um, of those who were there in the Los Angeles 1992 uprising, and how it impacted Korean and Black communities. I did not think that this was a young adult title, but it in fact is. So that's interesting. Next is Sophia's War. Um, this is historical fiction. It takes place during the Nazi occupation of Paris, and the main character feels powerless in helping her Jewish friends, but is drawn to the underground resistance, and her father is as well, which I think is interesting that it's not just the child or the parent, it is the child and the parent that are both being drawn to the underground resistance. This one, I think, was previously published, and I think that it is getting a re-release this year because I could be wrong about that, but I feel like this was a previously published title and now it's getting a re-release, but don't quote me on that. Next, we have Death's Country. That cover is beautiful. Um, this is about a main character by the name of Andreas who makes a deal with death. I love any book where someone is trying to bargain with death because it never turns out right. Andreas bargains with death to um, have a new life and meets two other characters, and those two characters and the main character embark on a polyamorous relationship. Now, I don't know how often I see poly relationships represented in young adults, so that also was kind of a buzzword for me. I saw Deal with Death, polyam, and one of the individuals who's involved in the relationship ends up falling into a coma. And so Andreas and the other character go to the underworld to retrieve her spirit. Which, of course, there's a high price for doing something like that. So there was a mix of different elements in this that I thought were pretty interesting and quite compelling, and really, really intrigued me. So that is a high, high priority read for me. It's got cover appeal. It's got a couple of things that I'm interested in. Next, we have Once Upon a Sorry picture book. Um, Main character makes a mess of her mother's sorries. She thinks she's going to be in trouble for doing it. But of course, you know, as kids perceive doing things and what is and what won't get them into trouble is often reversed. What they don't think is going to get them in trouble is what really does get them in trouble, and what they think is going to get them into trouble is not anything really significant. But once her mother discovers the mess, she shows her the meaning of each one of the stars, which I think is interesting. Maybe that's why. Yeah, yeah, maybe. I don't that's what I said, I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something as to why there are so many titles that are addressing because the one that I read this year, oh man, because I can't remember anything. My memory is River East, River West is the name of the book. It's amazing. It just popped up because I saw the cover in my head. River East, River West also touched a little bit on the cultural revolution. Like so it seems to be a common theme for 2024 and I'm not sure why, but hopefully it will become more clear. Next we have another nonfiction title, but this is a middle grade nonfiction, and it's about the author's experience growing up in Inner Mongolia, um, and growing up poor, but finding ways to have fun, still get into mischief, and still having a childhood. Um, it also talks a little bit about customs and traditions of Inner Mongolia, and how similar the experiences. I think what this one does, let me stop right there. I think what this one does, or what it's going to do, is it's one of those titles that shows how there are similarities in children all across the world. So while you have different traditions in terms of your cultural practices, there are still elements of your childhood that may be similar to the childhoods of people from all over the country. It is once again that emphasis on kids being able to see outside of their own experiences, to see how similar and how not similar they are to people around the globe. And I like that this one is a middle grade memoir. Starting to get a lot more middle grade memoirs than what I have typically seen in the past. Good ones at that, not those like textbooky ones. Next we have Barkham Asylum. This is another middle grade graphic novel, DC's. um, stuff that they're putting out. Nothing really much to say about that. We have Plain Jane and the Mermaid. This is a young adult graphic novel, which we are starting to see more of. A clear emphasis on young adult graphic novels. This one is about a character by the name of Jane who's kidnapped by a mermaid. And she ventures underwater to rescue her maybe fiance. Um, and ends up finding her independence in all of this. I wonder if this is going to have some sapphic elements to it. It seems like it might have some sapphic elements to it. The next one on this slide, which is the last one, no, it's not. That's the second to last one. Linus and Etta can use a win. Um, it's about two friends. One is more cynical, hothead, befriends a new kid who is a shy trans boy, and they are trying to get him elected as student body president. So your typical middle grade contemporary. Last one for the week of March 7th is Box of Dreams. This is another picture book that is about a main character that's helping her mother pack up a box, special box for her relatives back in the Philippines. Which I like books like that. All right, y'all. Believe it or not, that was only week one. Do you see why I refuse to do all 4 weeks in one live show? It's a lot. It genuinely is a lot for 1 week. Are y'all ready? Is everybody good? Is everybody doing okay? Are we holding up? Y'all got quiet on me? I know it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. It is a lot of stuff. Oh, the week of May 14th is a little shorter. It's not as much titles, but that first week has over 50 attached to it. So if y'all are ready, we're gonna go ahead. Let's dive into quickly make it through right 10 hours later. Yeah, that was just week one. That was the first week of May. We about to jump into week 2. I'm gonna let y'all go. I promise. All right. First up for the week of May 14th, we have When Among Crows. This is Veronica Roth's newest book. It feels more fantasy to me than anything. It's about a hunter who sacrifices his soul to slay monsters. To be honest with you, I have stop it. Stop it. Stop it. We are not doing American Requiem right now. Goodness gracious. Not look around everybody on mute. Can y'all stop, please? Stop it. I'm taking a picture of this because that is purely iconic. Y'all are not helping this situation. This is why my ass cannot focus. All right. I haven't read Veronica Roth in a very, very long time, but this is her latest fantasy. A hunter sacrifices his soul to slay monsters. It's a Chicago underworld, which I think is kind of different from what she typically does. I feel like she usually sticks to the dystopian type-esque, sci-fi-esque type of thing. This definitely feels a little bit more fantasy than before. Then we have Very Bad Company. This is an adult thriller. This is main character goes on a exclusive retreat in Miami with her new employee. Then a fellow high level executive vanishes. And with this person vanishing, it cost their team millions of dollars. And so they have to put on this charade um, to make it seem like nothing has happened in the meantime. So this one is a thriller, but it also feels like it could have a little bit more humor to it as well. And then the last one on this page, we have The Last Time She Saw Him. This is another adult thriller where a main character's ex fiance is found dead with a gunshot wound while they're at a friend's Connecticut country house. So the main character is determined to prove that her fiance was murdered and that it was not suicide. And so she is trying to get the police to take her seriously, which, you know. Then we have Lovers and Liars. This is an adult fiction book, but it follows three sisters who are have a lot of secrets between the three of them that have forced them to live very separate lives. And the only reason why they're coming back together is because their sister is having a destination wedding um, at an English castle where things already have potential to go bad, but it gets even worse when their toxic mother shows up. So that seems like family drama. I love anything family drama that has absolutely nothing to do with me. Um, I will be skipping anything and everything off Veronica. I thought I would. I haven't read her in a long time. Um, so I thought I would put it up there. Love at First Book. Um, this is a adult romance that is about an author who um an individual main character whose favorite author offers her a job in Ireland. Um and so she decides to take the opportunity, and of course there's love there. Like, you travel, you go there for employment, and then you end up finding your husband, which, realistic or not, if you're interested, there's another adult romance. At this point, Aaron, I don't know if I can disagree with you on that because I'm just next one because you have me speechless. Is this title pronounced Oye? Is that correct? Correct me if I am not right. But this is another kind of family type of dynamic situation. We follow a main character by the name of Luciana, um, who is the baby of her Colombian American family. And her grandmother ends up moving into her her bedroom, which is very which is very interesting. Like, but she enjoys it because her grandmother has these very, like, wild and unpredictable demands and antics, but she kind of welcomes it as a distraction. So there's just I think that this one is going to be serious, but also have some, like, some humor to it. Um I don't know. It just sounds funny because it's just like you're the baby of this family and your grandmother is forced to live in the same room as you. Like, yo, there's no way that me and my granny could have ever been in the same room together. Like, God rest her soul. But like, there's no way. There's no way. My granny used to beat me with slippers. There's no way. I had a country granny that was go get the switch off the tree type. There's no way. There's no way. So, um, I think that one would. there'd be some humor in it, but also probably some very serious moments. Um, Thank you, y'all. Appreciate the pronunciation guidance there. Long After We're Gone. This is another family one, but this is told from alternating points of view of four siblings. Um, it follows four main characters: Cece, Junior, Nance, and Angeline, who are all dealing with their own personal battles, but they're returning home to save their ancestral land and themselves after the death of their father. So I'm sure that there's a lot in there, and I like the idea of it being told from alternating points of view from all four of the siblings. That should be interesting. Now this one was someone else had gotten an advanced copy of this, and they were talking about it on their channel. Don't ask me who, because I can't remember. This is The Hunter's Daughter. Um, oh, you did? Oh no. I'm sorry. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. That's there are children's authors like that who are they write books for kids and they hate kids and they're very trashy humans in person, but can write their. Now I'm not saying Veronica Roth can write her ass off, but they can write their ass. It's very interesting the kind of dual lives that some authors live. I'll just put it that way. Um, The Hunter's Daughter. This is an adult thriller, but catch this. It is a sheriff's lieutenant serving a rural county. There's a character, keep that in mind. There's a sheriff's lieutenant. There's another character who is secretly the daughter of a notorious serial killer. She finds that her suppressed memories are coming back when a new serial killer emerges, copying her father. And she has to use her father's tricks to stop him before this person destroys her life. I was like, and I apologize, I got that wrong. She is the lieutenant, y'all. She is the daughter of a serial killer. She's told no one that she's the daughter of a serial killer. Then a new serial killer emerges who is just like her father. The amount of trauma, the amount of trauma. And you, as a lieutenant sheriff, must stop this new serial killer using tactics that your father used before the serial killer unravels your entire life. Like, what? Like, that's crazy. That's a wild. The first time I heard someone, and I wish I could remember who talked about this on their channel. I cannot remember who would have received an early copy of this book. I am not even an avid adult thriller reader. But hearing the fact that your father was a serial killer and now you have to stop a serial killer who's copying your father, like, bruh, what? What? No way. No way. That's crazy. So I will be picking that one up. The next one, It Waits in the Forest. This is another Rick Riordan Presents. This is by Sarah Doss. This is the Presents line is now doing more in young adult. I think they were hesitant at first. They heavily stayed in the middle grade end. Daniel Jose Older was the first to branch and take the Presents line into the young adult realm. But this year we have gotten This is the second young adult title this year. Um, because I can't remember the author's first name, last name's Patel. Venom, something Venom came out in January, and that was young adult. This one is the newest one, young adult. This one I can't remember. This is it's Caribbean folklore and mythology. A Drop of Venom. Yes, was the first one. Thank you, love. Um, yeah, Sarah Dawes. I've heard mixed reviews on her other things. I wonder how she would do with a Caribbean based mythology type of situation. I don't know. But that is the latest one that is coming out. Next we have Rising. This is a picture book about a uh, mother and son as they make challah together for Shabbat. Then we have Keep It Like a Secret. This is a middle grade contemporary. Um, it is about a main character by the name of Morgan who has to convince his sister, who is also his best friend, to come home after she decides to run away after there is a fight with their mother. And so he's trying to put the family back together, which that's tough to be caught in the middle of that as a kid. Um, Especially when you want your family to be together, you love your mom, but your sibling is your best friend. That's got to be really, really tough. Then the last one, this one's interesting. This is April, May, June, July. And no, these are not just the months of the year. These are actually the names of the main characters. And that's why I put this book on here. Because who the fuck named their children April, May, June, and July? Maybe April and May. But June and July. Somebody mama had to be smoking crack because there's no way you popped up 4 kids. April, May, June, July. April, May, June, July. Okay. Anyway, this is an adult fiction title. It is about four estranged siblings who meet up at a family wedding and are shocked to see that their father is there, although supposedly he was supposed to be missing overseas. And so they have to confront the fact that, yo, okay, so our father never went missing because he just showed up um at the wedding. But like really April, May, June, July. Oh, it's been so long since I've read that book, The Secret Life of Bees. And I'm trying to figure out whether I just seen the movie or whether I actually read the book because that also happens where I can get confused. Yeah, June too. June. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. June is a name. Junebug. Why? The first name that popped to Junebug is the first name that popped into my head. But July, I ain't never heard nobody named July. All right. Next we have A Crane Among Wolves. Now, this author I think is a hit or miss amongst um a lot of YA readers. Um and so I'm interested to see where this one goes. This takes place in 1506 Korea, and it is a fantasy book where the main character is out to steal her sister back after she's been kidnapped by the tyrant king. Um, so I don't know. I'm nervous about that one because I've heard so many mixed things about the author. Um, but there's that. Listen, I'm not gonna even hold you, Aaron, but let me tell you, I was at work talking to one of my black coworkers and we was laughing because we like, you know what, being from the South and being having a family, a black family from the South, there's just names that you know, like everybody knows a junior. Everybody. There's a junior in your family. It does not matter. Like there's somewhere along, like I have a junior. It's my uncle Junior. Um, everybody knows a Pookie. Everybody knows, like literally everybody know. Like I have a Pookie, and I know a Pookie that I met in college, and there's a Pookie in the family. And then I took it a step further. I was like, but you know what, Loki? I got a cousin named Mumu. I do. I have a cousin named Mumu, and it's just from being in the South, man. See, see, yes, a good junior, junior Pookie, like it's just yes, man, yes, I know. Y'all understand? You get peaches, like y'all get it, y'all understand, y'all get me, okay, y'all understand what I'm putting out here. Yeah, I know Pookie, and I have a family member that's a Pookie. Absolutely. It's common, Uncle Junior. Yep. Hmm. Next we have a new Tess Sharp book, which is A Girl in Question. Um, it's about a main character who goes backpacking with a group of friends, with her murderous stepfather on the loose. Now, I just and here's the thing, y'all. You're going backpacking with your friends while your murderous stepfather's on the loose because your best friend's girlfriend has been mistaken for you and has been kidnapped. I ain't going not not a goddamn. I don't think they're okay. I don't think they're okay because your murderous what? Your murderous stepfather is on the loose and you're going backpacking to rescue your friend's girlfriend because she was kidnapped because they thought that was you? Like, I genuinely don't know. Like, there are some repressed feelings going on in the writing sphere right now because I when I like y'all when I came across because I'm familiar with Tess Sharp, but when I read the premise of this book originally, I was like, "Excuse me, your murderous stepfather is on the loose." And then the listen, this is the final tagline. Okay, it says they face three problems: someone is lying, someone is keeping secrets, and someone has to die. Like what? These people said we tired of the cute fluff stuff. We trying to kill some people. Like what? It's wild. Okay. Anyway, on to the next thing. We have We Were the Universe. Um so it may not be real it once again, bear with me here, okay? These are things that I put these books into. This is a cross between realistic fiction and thriller, I think, based off of the description. It's so hard to put any of these. I'm not going to do this genre conversation anymore because I'm not going to keep fucking bringing up Linda Martell. But I think that this can fit into a couple of different places. Um, Thriller, mystery, realistic fiction. Um, and I realistic fiction is often interchanged with contemporary general fiction. It's so damn hard. It's just hard. Um, Next, We Were the Universe. Follows a main character who's in denial about the death of her sister. Um, is basically dealing with um how do I put this? She's having a hard time coping, and so she is locked into everything that would distract her. And because she's so locked into everything that will distract her, she begins to blur the lines between fiction and reality, um, which then makes her question if her sister is really dead. I thought that this one was interesting, um, because the cover is somewhat misleading. The fact that you have a main character who is coping with the death of her sister in a way that causes her to not really uh, notice the difference between reality and fantasy to the point that she starts to question whether her sister is even dead. That's not the cover that I would have thought that book would have got. That was what intrigued me about that and how far we're really getting into the blurring of fantasy and reality. Books that do that are usually very interesting, that have these very like vibrant, colorful, almost kind of like warm energy about them, and then touch on topics like that. Another book that did that, that I always warn people about, but I think it's a very good book, is Parachutes by Kelly Yang, because I personally feel like that cover is very misleading because it's very bright. It's very summery, and it looks like you just have some kids um, dealing with the everyday mumbo jumbo of college life, right? But the content of that book is super fucking heavy, and most people don't realize that based off of the cover of that book. That this book right here, We Were the Universe, gave me the same vibe of um bright, colorful, warm, but very, very heavy content. Um, and just the idea of this, how she's grieving, and what that is doing to her perception of reality was very, very intriguing to me. Yeah, that's what I was like. That like her grief, how her grief is, how not really, she's not processing the death of her sister, and that grief is what is causing her to kind of not be able to tell the difference between the two. All right, we're almost at the finish line, y'all. I promise, because I'm getting tired too. I promise we're almost there. Okay. They Built Me for Freedom. This is a picture book that discusses the 150-year story of Emancipation Park in Houston, Texas, and the origins of Juneteenth. Then we have Tales from, this is a new series that's coming out, and each book is going to be written by a different author. This first one is written by Justina Ireland, and they're all under the series name of Tales from Cabin 23. This particular title by Justina Ireland is The Boo Hag Flex, which follows a main character by the name of Tasha, who lives in a trailer park, and the subdivision is called Shady Pines, and she hears about a creature that has been sucking the life from its victims. And this rumor starts because she had an elderly neighbor who dies suddenly, and then other people in the community start becoming unwell. And so she starts to think that maybe the stories are actually true. Once again, for the kids who love gore. And the next one we have is The Last Free Witch. This one for me felt like a cross between like horror and fantasy. It follows the main character who's at camp with her best friend, and then weird things start to happen and plague the camp. And then she ultimately comes into contact with souls who have unfinished business at this camp. Um, and it shows her a whole new side of life. I also heard the author speak about this book in a webinar, um, and she just seemed very, very excited about it, which made me, in turn, excited about it. Yeah, I I feel like I've only read one thing by her, and that was when she first came out with whatever the alternate history books were. I can't remember the name, but the zombies. And I think I only gave that original one like 3.5 stars. I don't feel like I've picked up anything else by Justina Ireland since then, but I wonder how this will work for her. Um, I think Hannah Han is writing the second one. I could be so wrong about that though, but the second one is coming out maybe in August is when the second one comes out. August or September is when the second one comes out, and it's written by a completely different author. All right. Next one here. Um, Samira's Worst Best Summer. This is a middle grade realistic fiction book, which follows a main character whose house gets TP'd, which ultimately leads to her being able to meet um, a new girl, and she finds that her summer is completely different than what she expected by because she meets this new girl. So they have all types of adventures and stuff like that. And then her ex best friend tries to steal Alice away from her, and she decides that she is going to stand up for her friend, fight for her friendship, which I think is cute. Um, this next one, it feels contemporary with fantastical elements, which is why I labeled as middle grade contemporary fantasy. Because the main character can hear what boys are thinking, but the powers that she has in being able to hear what boys are thinking are fairly new, and she wants to use her powers to reverse her ex best friend's betrayal. But she ends up making a mess of everything, um, and has to fix the mistakes that she's made. So there's that. Next one that we have is Spitting Gold. This is a adult historical fiction book that takes place in 1866 Paris. Um, and it's about two sisters who are fraudulent spirit mediums. This one also the sisters try to basically scam somebody out of their money. But then in turn, they're faced with horrors that make them question whether they are actually at the hands of a vengeful spirit or not. So this one, historical fiction, also could have some elements of horror in it as well. Me too, Aaron. Me too. I am glad to see a little bit more. Are those AI hands? They probably are. They look like it. Next we have Gooseberry. This is Robin. Is it Robin Gao? Go or Gao? One of the two. Um, it's about this is your typical middle grade realistic fiction. The main character is a non-binary kiddo who wants to be a dog trainer, and convinces their adoptive parents to buy them or to get them or adopt them a stray dog named Gooseberry. Um, but of course, as with everything, things are much more complicated than what they expected. My fave is dropping another book this year, which I do have an arc of this one. And this is Thirsty by Jazz Hammond. Oh my goodness. Guys is excited about this one. This is about a main character by the name of Blake, whose one goal is to join a sorority. This is going to be interesting. And by joining a sorority to have like lifelong connections, to a lot of women of color, powerful women of color. Um, but the main character finds courage in alcohol. And as the pledging process intensifies, so does her drinking. So there's a couple of interesting things that I think are going on with this. As someone who did pledge in college, um, I'm very interested to see how Jazz handles that. And then the fact that we are looking at drinking in a college environment and what that does to teens. I mean, I think about the fact that when I went to college, I was 17, and it was instantaneously like able to get a fake ID and was bar hopping my freshman year at 17 years old. So there's some interesting things that I think that Jazz can really do with this book. And I'm looking forward to reading it because my God, did I love We Deserve Monuments. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful novel. Last one on this page is Moon Madness. This is the second book in Camp Slovenia, or whatever the series is called, that by Julie Murphy. I read the first book this year and thought it was okay. Um, it is a health camp. Really, it is a twisted perception or twisted version of a fat camp, but the kids are lured there not for weight loss. It's run by vampires, and they don't know that originally. Like, it's okay. It's all right. Um, I haven't decided whether I'm gonna read the second one or not, but there's that. Next we have a um graphic novel, middle grade graphic novel called Lunar Boy. It's coming of age, about a young boy from the moon. Then we have Summer Vamp, which is another middle grade graphic novel. And it is about making friends and getting into trouble. They say that this one is comped for people who like Witches of Brooklyn. Lunar Boy is comped for people who like Witch Boy, which both of those are very popular series um, amongst middle grade graphic novel readers. And then the last one that we have on this page is I'm Afraid You've Got Dragons. This is an adult fantasy about a main character who inherits his late father's job as a dragon catcher slash exterminator. Um, I don't know. I don't know if it was like I'm not a huge adult fantasy reader. I'm trying to work on that naturally. It's not happening naturally, so I may need to work harder on that. But the fact that it's the title, I'm Afraid You've Got Dragons, it did remind me of like, oh, I'm afraid you've got like a rat infestation, or you've got a infestation, or a roach infestation. And the fact that the main character is a dragon catcher slash exterminator, I thought that was pretty cool. But he wants to quit. He wants to find himself a princess. Um, and or he wants to quit his job and become a princess valet because he likes dragons. So this is the same author of The Last Unicorn. Um, so if you've read that book, it's something else by that author, which I have not read that. Then we have With Just One Wing. This Brenda Woods. I last book I read by Brenda Woods was When Winter Robertson Came, which was a historical fiction book that she had written. This one is about a 12-year-old adoptee um, who cares for and protects a baby mockingbird born with one wing. Um, and at the same time, he has a broken arm. So it's kind of that paralleling. I listened to Brenda Woods talk about this book too during a webinar, but Brenda Woods is a very, very well established children's author. So it's not surprising to see her have another one coming out. Then we have True Love and Impossible Odds. This is a YA contemporary like romance main character by the name of Grace Tang, who's developed a algorithm to predict people's perfect matches. Well, what do you know? You know, we all know algorithms ain't shit. She's confident that it's gonna work, but when she tries to make her own perfect match, she grows closer to her own coworker, and then she starts to question how um, how accurate this thing really is. So this one has a little bit of a sapphic romance in it. Then we have Finn Ezra's Bar Mitzvah Time Loop. This one is like a middle grade sci-fi. Um, Finn and Ezra find that they're stuck in a time loop when they keep having to relive their celebrations in the same New Jersey hotel over and over and over again. And so they're trying to figure out how to get out of that time loop, um, and move forward. Then we have another YA book, 10 Things I Hate About Prom. Um, and this is one of those things where like you're might be in love with your best friend, but you don't really know that you have feelings for your best friend until your best friend decides that he wants to go to prom with somebody else. I'm usually not a fan of the childhood friends to lovers type situation, but it might work here. Then we have On's New Word. So this is about a young girl who is having trouble learning how to speak English. Um, as she tries to get adjusted to living in America. She gets some help from a teacher and inspiration from her grandmother. Then we have another middle grade nonfiction called The Memiors. This is a story of the 1920 Battle of Blair Mountain, which is the largest labor uprising in U.S. history, which I think kids actually would be interested in that. All right, next we have In Repair. This is a young adult realistic fiction book about a main character by the name of Nathaniel who wants to have a fresh start during his first year in college. But things go wrong when he finds that his former best friend actually attends the same school. So there's that. Then we have Flying Through Water, which I think that this cover is absolutely gorgeous. This is a middle grade realistic fiction set in modern day rural Ghana, where the main character, who is poverty stricken, finds himself in the clutches of human trafficking. It's a survival story. I know this is going to be a lot to read, like a whole lot, but it is one that I'm really, really interested in. We have Road Home. This is the final chapter in Rex Ogel's memoir. So I can't remember the name of the two books before this one. I haven't read them, but I can see kind of the covers of them. But this is the final book in that trilogy, where he talks about his experiences coming out and his father's rejection of him coming out, and then as a result, like navigating the abuse that came with that, and then trying to survive on the streets as a result of his father not wanting to deal with him at all. And on the last page, we have Ollie Blackwood Takes Action, um, which follows a main character whose video about protecting the state animal goes viral. She then decides to work together with new friends to create a documentary that will raise awareness after. Sorry, y'all. I think I just gave that completely wrong. No, that's right. Okay. So after her video goes viral, she ends up wanting to do a documentary to continue to raise awareness with a group of friends. And she has severe anxiety, but she wants to get that video into um, a local film competition. And we are getting a third Onyeka book this year. Um, I am super excited. I just reread the first two books in the series last year. I probably will reread them again just to freshen my mind up before jumping into this last one. Um, I think this might be the conclusion to the series. I don't know if she was contracted to get any more books outside of the three. So I love the Onyeka books. I really do. I enjoy them. And so I am excited to see that this third one is coming out this year. Y'all read the Onyeka series. It's good. It's definitely, if you like X-Men vibes, Onyeka definitely reminds me of Storm. I don't know where people get the fucking Black Panther like comp from. Like, oh yeah, if you like Black Panther, it's definitely more like X-Men. Black Panther for me is a stretch, and I feel like people say Black Panther only because the character's black. But like, um, definitely if you're a fan of X-Men, you will get strong X-Men vibes reading this book. Not only because I feel like Onyeka reminds me so much of Storm, but the other characters too have similar abilities that it reminds you of a younger, black as fuck X-Men group. So yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't read it yet. Yes, everything black is Black Panther or Get Out. That's if anybody tells you Onyeka is like Black Panther, I mean I think I think in the publishers comped it to Black Panther. It's not like Black Panther. If you think of black as fuck X-Men, everybody in X-Men is black, that's what the fuck you're getting. And think young X-Men, but black as fuck. You will enjoy it. Hmm. All right, y'all. That's it. We did 2 hours and 22 minutes, man. There's no way in hell I would have been able to do a week 3 or 4. I'm glad I made that judgment call. Because I was like, oh, yeah, we can just do week 3 and week 4. And then the more I got, I was like, nah, bro. That ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. All right, y'all. It's about that time for me. I still gotta get up and go to work in the morning. And it's almost 11 o'clock my time. So I ain't gonna hold y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope you got a lot of recommendations. And keep an eye out. I will have recommendations for week 3 and week 4 sometime next week. I haven't decided on the day. Um, but I'll keep y'all updated. Thank for Thank you for coming and being patient with this long ass live, y'all. I appreciate you. I'll be back soon.